Hello everybody and welcome to another top 10 video. My first video since the atrocity that was ranking every identity specific ally. I do appreciate the support. I do understand the criticism that came from that. I'm probably putting too much of a spotlight on it, but either way, it was funny to look at, and I see it all as constructive criticism 99% of the time, and some of it is just, it is what it is. But either way, I'm going to try to not make those mistakes, including on this video, where I will be breaking down my top 10 favorite alter egos. So these are the opposite side of the hero. This is trying to take them as much in a vacuum as possible to go like, okay, let's rank this thing. And while it wasn't a complete systematic thing, the kinds of things I was taking into consideration were, does this alter ego provide you any kind of alternate deck building? If they have an action, because not every alter ego has an action, but if they have an action, is it something that I would want to see repeatable? Is it something that really only gets you through the front door and is kind of like something that you use like every once in a while, like 50 to 10% of the time? Is there a setup ability? Is there a static ability? And then just, while this isn't something that I was taking into consideration to completely rank them, I did try to think about how does the hero's thwart play into everything, and how much does their recovery play into anything. Those are just more for, if I'm in alter ego, how much of a threat is that to the overall scenario? Because will my hero be able to just sort of pay off the scheming that has occurred? I do want to keep in mind that the recovery, just because some characters have really low recovery in comparison to their total health, and some of them, like Deadpool, or I guess Wade Wilson, have an absurd amount of recovery to the point where it is all but one of their health. But either way, again, the thwarting and the recovery are not the most important things, although they were something that I did look at just to try to make sure that I was giving every alter ego the fairest shake I could. But let's get into it now and talk about, again, my top 10 alter egos, starting with my number 10, which is Carol Danvers. She is a alter ego with the shield and soldier trait. She's got 4 recovery. Obviously, her name is Carol Danvers, and she has the action of choose a player to draw 1 card, limit once per round. Not only is Carol the kind of character that is coming right out of the core set, but she definitely plays into the entire idea of being a co-op hero in a co-op game. She can obviously just get you card advantage if you want it, but she can also give that card advantage out to other players, which can be really helpful on the first turn. If you're going first, or even if you're not going first, but you can just sort of set up one of the people down the road, or the defense hero who maybe isn't doing anything on their first turn. Stereotypically, you look at something like Spider-Man, where he flips into his hero form, but if he's in protection, that might mean that all he's really doing is switching over to hero form, playing out his web shooter to just sort of get a resource generator, but there might not be too much else to do, and so he might find himself with a hand that's not going to cost him to draw a lot of cards, but maybe if you give him that 1 extra card, there's something that he's going to be able to do. He's going to be able to get out something and do the swinging web kick, what have you. That's kind of hyperbolic, but either way, overall, what I'm trying to say is just that Carol Danvers has the ability to really play really well in alter ego. She's the kind of hero that benefits from going to hero form, but then also benefits from going to alter ego form. Having that extra card can also mean that when you go to your hero form, you have the energy resource to do her other side. Carol draws so many cards, but again, we're not talking about the hero forms here, but I do think that it is important to at least be mindful of the fact that she can set up her hero form to do what she's going to do on the other side and do a lot of card filtering. But regardless, I think that she's probably also going to get a lot of stuff from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wave, just with everything that cares about S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not something that I've necessarily put a lot of thought into. To be honest, I really haven't thought a lot about the core set heroes in the most recent wave, even though obviously I should, Black Panther and Black Panther. We've got, unfortunately, Spider-Man's not a web warrior. That might get changed if we get a second core set. I am recording this just after Arkham announced a second core set, but either way, just overall, love Carol, love what she's able to do, love how she plays in alter ego, and in multiplayer, single player, all that stuff. That's why she's in my top 10. Moving on to my number 9, we have Maria Hill, a 3 recovery alter ego with the shield and spy trait. She has the text of, you may include the maximum number of copies of 3 shield supports in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect. And she has a action of exhaust Maria Hill, search your deck for a shield support and add it to your hand. She has 6 hand size, 9 hit points. I kind of skipped over that on Carol, but the card was up on screen anyway. So yeah, I look at Maria Hill and I just think to myself, this is really fun. I know that there are players that have definitely voiced that they can kind of play Maria Hill from alter ego. She's so good that while it's nice to be able to flip over to hero form and do your counter shenanigans and everything, she can sort of just sit in alter ego and do her thing. And while that wasn't a deep consideration, that was something that I was keeping in mind. Are you able to play a unique game? And Maria Hill being able to sit in alter ego most of the game, if not all of the game, is a unique gameplay thing. I do like her deck building thing, giving that a little bit of diversity. It is one of those lines of text that makes sense once you understand it, but it takes some explaining to really wrap your mind around what it's trying to say. And what it's trying to say is that you can pick 3 supports from outside of your chosen aspect. I think that's pretty clear, but you need to play the maximum number of them. Like a unique one, easy. You're gonna have the maximum number is 1. But if you're picking one where you could have a 3 of, you need to go 3 of on that. And that is something that I know that in my new player guide, I think I tried to imply, but I did not blatantly say. But yes, if you are playing with Maria Hill and you pick a shield support from outside of your aspect, you need to pick the maximum number that can be played. It's not a huge hiccup, and it's not something that I held against Maria Hill, but I do think that it is something that I do consider when I'm playing Maria Hill. I would love for Marvel CDB to catch that. I don't expect them to have that nuance in there, but that is helpful. But either way, I just think that being able to go and look through your deck for a shield support and add it to your hand is great. She cares so much about that kind of stuff. I do think there's a little bit of a hindrance of the fact that you can't go through your discard pile. I know I definitely held that against Jubilee. She's not on this list. Spoiler alert, Jubilee does not make the top 10. But that was definitely one of those considerations that I had to think about was, oh, okay, so this hero can go search for something, but they can only search their deck. And that is something that I think is also another tripping hazard. You're so used to so many cards let you look at your deck and your discard pile, and for a card to only look at your deck, or only your discard pile, is something that you kind of need to catch yourself in the moment. I do think that she's a fun alter ego, but I don't think she's the best alter ego, and obviously that's why she is my number 9. Moving on to my number 8, let's talk about Kitty Pryde, a 3 recovery alter ego with mutant trait, 6 hand size, 9 hit points, the setup ability of put your mass form upgrade into play, solid side face up, and the action of the phase control action, flip your mass form upgrade limit once per round. This was one where I do think that her action is pretty good. My experience with Kitty Pryde, and I feel like it has the amount of times I play Kitty Pryde has gone up over time. It was kind of low at the beginning when I didn't really wrap my mind around her phase form, and as I've learned a little bit more, as I've gotten better, I feel like I have wanted to play her and I've enjoyed her more. I will say that I don't feel like I'm always using this action. I don't go down to Alter Ego to use this action. Now, there are times when I have plenty of health and I do choose to go down to Alter Ego so that I can use this action to my advantage, but it's not a action that I'm using every single time. I do think her setup ability is very, very important. I don't think there's any way to get around that. Like, if you don't have this setup ability, you're not playing Kitty Pryde. I think that her recovery being a third of her health, her action being helpful for getting you into the right form when you need to get into it, and just her mass form upgrade just being so interesting and adding so much to her character does make her a little bit lacking in some places, but I do think that is enough to say that I think that she is a top 10 alter ego. What I will also say, as you may notice a little bit of hesitance in my voice, is that I do think that there are some extremely good alter egos, and then I do think it drops off very quickly, and then I think it kind of stays in that area. Like, not to try to give it like, a 1 out of 10 rating, but I do think that there are a lot of cards that rank in that 70th percentile, and then a lot of them that dip down to the 50th percentile, and then kind of just meander there, going from the 50th to the 40th percentiles. I hope I'm using percentiles correctly, if I might not be. But all to say that, like, I don't feel like there's bad alter egos. I just feel like at some point you hit a point where they all kind of bottom out and it becomes very stable. It does not take a lot to kind of get above the curve and then suddenly find yourself in the top 20. And what I will say, that is actually the hardest part of all of this list, was that it was easy to come up with my top 20. It was hard to figure out how to cut it down to 10. I do think that once you're in the top 20, there's not a lot outside of that. I feel like after that, they do fall off very quickly. None of that was about Kitty, but it was kind of important. So let's move on to my number 7, which is Bessie Braddock, aka Psylocke. So she is a 3 recovery alter ego with the mutant and psionic traits. She has 6 hand size, 10 hit points. She has the setup ability Psionic Manifestation. Put your 2 psi energy upgrades into play. Psi knife side face up. Those are obviously on screen, but they generate a physical resource, or they have a physical resource on them, and they add to your attack. And oh no, those are the psi knives. The psi knives have the mental, and they add to your thwarting. And then the action of exhaust 1 psi energy upgrade. Shuffle a psionic card from your discard pile into your deck. A very good case could be made that Bessie Braddock is a top 3 alter ego, because her ability to shuffle a psionic card back into your deck from your discard pile is very, very powerful. My only hesitation is the fact that in a vacuum, again, top 5, maybe even top 3 alter ego, I just don't know if, for me, she beats some of the cards above her enough to be considered like that. Like I said, I think in a vacuum, she's very, very strong. I think that the ability to shuffle stuff back into the deck is very, very strong. I do think that there are cards that if you were to just go in a vacuum would rank lower than Betsy, that I actually think might be better than Betsy, but I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to ignore the fact that this action is very, very strong. It's your ability to be able to use something like Cerebro to go grab Professor X, let him do his thing, he gets discarded, then on the next turn you just shuffle him back into your deck and use Cerebro for him again. That is a very strong line of thinking, or that is a very strong game plan. I will say that I am a little hesitant to praise it too much, only because I do think that repetitive play patterns are strong, but kind of bore me. I would rather live a little bit and not necessarily follow a game plan, but I guess that is kind of the difference between Johnny's, Timmy's, Spike's, and even Vorthos and Melvin. And I get bored by just doing the same actions over and over again. Even if it achieves a victory, it's kind of like, yeah, but it was kind of done in a way that wasn't exciting to me. And so that is what lowers Betsy on my list, is very strong, but kind of repetitive. Moving on to my number 6, let's talk about Gamora. She is a 3 recovery alter ego with the outlaw trait. She's got 6 hand size, 10 hit points. And she has the skilled tactician, which is basically a deck building thing. You may include up to 6 attack and or thwart events in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect, and an action of look at the top card of your deck. If that card is an attack or thwart event, draw it, limit once per round. I was very, very hesitant to actually put her this low on the list. I think that in a different world, she probably would be a top 5 hero. I mean, she's very close to top 5. When I originally set out to make this list, I was like, I think Gamora and one of the other cards that ranks above her are going to be my top 2. And then as I really started to evaluate it, I tried to give every alter ego a fair shake. She kept lowering a little bit lower and lower and lower until she reached number 6. That said, I think that her deck building is a really fun deck building. It's not as much in your face, but I do think that it is top tier thing. Especially with the pool aspect coming in and suddenly being able to include a attack or thwart event from pool without needing to do the Crisis of Infinite Deadpools. I think that it is very notable. I think this is a very strong deck building thing. I think it leaves a lot open for creativity. Unlike someone like Adam Warlock, who I feel like the community had solved pretty quickly or over time it's just become a more and more solved deck building thing. You don't have to follow that, but it's there. And so it's hard to ignore that sometimes. I think that this leaves you in a place where you can pick to be in leadership and give yourself really strong attack events, really strong thwarting events out of the other things. It allows you to leverage cards and aspects that don't typically do these things too well, but this is a notably strong card for its aspect and included in a deck that really needs it. It also allows you to be out of aspect of things that care about these things, but still have some of the strongest elements. Does that mean that you will probably find yourself with you're in protection, you find yourself with the, quote unquote best aggression cards and best protection cards, or not protection, justice cards? Probably. But at the same time, you can choose to hinder yourself and really just play things that feel like this is helping my strategy outside of the aspect that I'm in. Can't rave about it enough. I think this is an incredible, might be the best deck building option out there. There's quite a few good ones, but I think that they might be one of the best ones. The action, I think, is appropriately strong. It could just be draw a card. It could be like Carol, just draw a card. But this makes you want to build towards the attack and thwarting even more. And I just think, overall, I think this card comes together really well. I would love to put it higher, and my loyalties just shifted enough that I was like, but let's also take into account these other cards. But as we will get to in just a moment. But yeah, Gamora, my number 6, pretty happily at my number 6. Hello, if you are enjoying this content, if this happens to be the third video of mine you've watched today, I would really love a subscription. It goes a long ways. Additionally, if you have discretionary spending, this is not required, but I do have members opened up. I want to make members only content. The demand's just not there yet. But they do get to see the videos as soon as they are live. That can be 24 hours notice. That can be a week and a half's notice. But you get that content right away. Any form of encouragement, any form of support is definitely appreciated. I won't take up any more of your time. Moving into my top 5, we have Bobby Drake. A 4 recovery alter ego with the mutant trait. He has 6 hand size and 11 hit points. And the text, Bobby Drake begins the game with 6 frostbite upgrades set aside, and a responsibility of, after you change to this form, shuffle 1 ice card from your discard pile into your deck for each copy of frostbite in play. First of all, the frostbite's being able to lower the attack and scheming of whatever enemy it's attached to is super helpful. Obviously, they melt off after 1 activation, so you do sort of have to stack them up to kind of really take advantage of this. But I do think that the frostbite is such a cool mechanic, and the ability to get 1 or 2 of them onto things before you switch to alter ego, and being able to have some recursion. It's only on ice cards, but so much of your kit is ice cards, and that is so integral to your plan that I do feel like Bobby Drake just is really good at being a recursive alter ego and by proxy a recursive hero. That I do think that recursion is so strong that it plays in your game plan. It makes him super consistent, and I just think that overall I feel like Bobby just plays into what you want to do. He's gained so much upward momentum in my opinions about him, just because I do think that he is a very I just think he's a very consistent hero, and I think that his alter ego does so much to help that. I think he's easily in the top 20 for alter egos. He might kind of fall short of the top 10. I do think that I have been so impressed by him recently that it might be recency bias, that I just find him to be so consistent and so helpful to the game plan overall that I've ranked him higher than maybe he deserves to be ranked. I'm impressed. I find myself impressed with Iceman, and by proxy, I think a lot of that is on the shoulders of Bobby Drake. I feel like I've repeated myself way too much on this alter ego, trying to justify it. My biggest fear right now is that I'm going to make another mistake and put too much of a shine onto something because I'm just not thinking it through clearly. But I can't hide it. I think Bobby Drake is a stupendous alter ego. Moving on to my number 4, we have Peni Parker, a alter ego with 4 recovery, the civilian trait. She has 4 hand size, 14 hit points, and then she has the setup ability, psychogenetic capability, put the spider suit into play, inactive side face up, and the maintenance ability of alter ego action, which is kind of weird because you're already in that form. Exhaust, Spider Suit, draw 2 cards. Spider is such a weird case that I also had to take into account that when you flip her over, you get an upgrade that generates a wild via Spider's ability, and then has the suit up ability of when you flip to this side, flip your Spider Suit to its active side, attach this card to the Spider Suit, moving all counters from this card or cards attached to this to the Spider Suit. Peni gets a little bit of a boost because not only is she an alter ego, but she also becomes a resource generator. I did not want to weigh that too much, but I did think that that was something that is unique to her and is still unique to her as an alter ego. It's hard. Like, this is a very weird hero that its alter ego is kind of like Peter Parker generating a resource for you, but in your hero form. And that does kind of complicate things a little bit. But I do think that to ignore that would be too much. Her hand size is small, and I didn't want to keep hand size in mind. Maybe I should have. I thought of recovery. I thought of the hero thwart. I didn't necessarily rank these based on their starting hand size or whatever. But I do think that the 4 hand size, I think it's 2 hand size for the Spider Suit itself, are low, but it's because so much of your stuff are resource generators. Either way, I think this is a cool hero. I think that's the other reason why I was willing to give it a lot of grace, to say, like, I'm going to still rank Peni pretty high, because she's an unusual hero, an unusual alter ego, and I do think that, but I do think she's powerful and unique, is fun, and I think she's a fun hero, and that's why she is my number 4. Moving on to my number 3, I have to imagine that there were a lot of people that when they thought of this list, this hero was one of the ones that came to their mind, and that is Remy LeBeau, a 3 recovery alter ego with the mutant and thief trait. He has 6 hand size, 9 hit points, and the thief extraordinaire ability, which is an action, thwart. Exhaust Remy LeBeau and look at the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Discard one of those cards. Remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So I definitely gave Remy a lot of extra points in my mind, because he is one of those heroes that you can play almost entirely in alter ego. His ability to thwart from alter ego form is so cool, and he's kind of just riding the high off of that. I do think that he loses a little bit of coolness and style points because he can't play entirely. I mean, he can. You could play him entirely in alter ego. I do think that you play him mostly in alter ego, like you could play Maria Hill entirely in alter ego. I think they both point to the fact that you are probably not going to stick in your alter ego the entire form, or you're not going to stick in alter ego form the entire time. But it is definitely something that you are probably going to do a lot of. Overall, I just think that this is such a cool and unique alter ego that does things that I want to be doing in a way that just feels fun. You get to get rid of the encounter cards that you're scared of. You do get that kind of Falcon. You know what the top card of the encounter deck is going to be. You're thwarting. It's all just comes together as this really cool package. And I just think that overall, Remy LeBeau is such an awesome alter ego that I wanted to make sure that he was in my top 10. And I'm pretty happy that he made it all the way to my top 3, because he's pretty cool. Next up, let's talk about my number 2, which is Natasha Romanoff. She is an alter ego with 3 recovery, the shield and spy trait, 6 hand size, 9 hit points, and the mission prep ability, which is a response. After you play a preparation card, draw 1 card. Limit once per phase. And the nice thing here is that a lot of preparations are either free, they cost 1. I don't know that if any of them cost 2, that they cost more than 2. I don't have them all memorized in my head. But either way, this was an early contender for my number 1. It was the first one I thought of. It was Gamora and Natasha were the first 2 that I thought of when I was like, okay, I think these are emblematic of what I see as a top 10 alter ego card. And I was willing to kind of go from there to see where else my mind and my reasoning went when I looked over everything. But I think that Natasha is incredible. I think that there is a setup with one of her supports that has an alter ego action. It's it's safe house number something. I don't remember. It's up on screen at this point. But her ability to very easily play entirely in alter ego is so cool. I think that it is something that I don't want every hero to be able to do, but I do think that it is, for one thing, it's something that you should keep in mind. I do think that if you can do that, it makes you a very strong alter ego, if you can play from the alter ego seat the entire game. But she is emblematic of what I think makes a great alter ego to a pretty fun hero. I think that just the ability to have that additional card draw is great. She's already in a position where she's getting those 6 cards every turn, and now she gets to see a 7th pretty easily. She can just use the, the counter intelligence to just negate all of the scheming that the villain does, and then just use her remaining cards to do whatever she needs to do. I love Natasha. I think that she is a great alter ego. I think that she's got a great ability that in context works really well. And yes, you do need to look outside of her card to kind of understand the strategy, but overall I just think that very similar to some of the other heroes that we see that interact with things like Nebula or Rocket, who in alter ego form interact with the strategy of what the hero's trying to do. I think that she also interacts with that in a way, but she is so strong in that, like I said, she can play from the alter ego seat 99% of the time and be absolutely fine. But let's move on to my number 1. I don't know how I overlooked this card, because Natasha was going to be my number 1 from the jump. And then I remembered that Nadia Van Dyne exists. She is a alter ego with 3 recovery. She's got the genius trait, 6 hand size, 11 hit points, and the girl action, which is shuffle up to 2 cards with a printed mental resource from your discard pile into your deck, limit once per round. So I don't want to be too hyperbolic here, but I think that Nadia is an extremely strong alter ego that I don't think you can play from the alter ego position the entire game. She loses a couple style points there, but I think that just in general, her ability to hit genius resources into your deck, up to 2 of them, every turn, is something that makes her profoundly strong. I think that she is definitely part of my strategy when I'm playing Wasp. As I've said many, many times, I view Wasp as a character that has 2 different hero forms, but you're building towards one of them, and you are finding yourself an alter ego as much as possible, because just being able to recur, this entire project made me realize how much I love recursion. Magneto, I wanted him to be really high up there because he has recursion. Obviously, we had Bobby Drake make it in because he has recursion. I just find this recursion, Psylocke was also in there for the same thing, but I find Nadia's is open-ended enough but direct enough that it informs how you're going to deck build. It is open-ended enough that it is going to help you do what you want to do. You're going to constantly find yourself using it. And yeah, overall, I think that she is a great alter ego to a great hero, but I think just in a vacuum, I think that she's just a very strong card, and that's why she's my number 1. And so that is my list, as you can see right up on the board, my 1 through 10s. What is your favorite alter ego? What alter egos would you have wanted to include that I overlooked? Because, like I said, I think there was a very strong top 20 that I just needed to whittle down, and I'm pretty pleased with this list. Although, again, like many of my top 10s, on a different day, one of these could get swapped out for something else. I think that Stephen Strange is strong. I think Nick Fury's strong. I think Jessica Drew is strong. I wanted Nebula to be somewhere on the list. And I would even say that Tony Stark was very close to making this top 10. I don't think I was prepared for just how much I enjoy what he does. But yeah, overall, that's my list. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. And remember, you are doing great. Keep it up.